Good morning. It's good to see everybody here this morning, even though I can't see everyone. But there's a few of us here at the building, and it's just good to be able to get together using modern technology. And we're certainly being challenged along those lines as well to try to work this out so that we could all be together this morning, even if it's just on a screen somewhere. Really has been an interesting time. Many of us feel like we're under house arrest. At the same time, many of us will always look forward to having some time at home together. And some of you may be getting a little tired of being at home together. But we need to recognize that God is with us in all these things, that this is a tremendous opportunity to do some of those things with our families, spend some extra special time. I got to say, just to encourage you as a minister, that if you have never had a daily Bible reading time, this is an excellent time to start that. If you haven't spent a daily time in prayer talking with God, talking about your visions for the future, what you want to see for your children, this would be a great time to engage in that and let your children see you engaging in that. Engage them as well. Help them to start that practice, to know that it is especially times like this that we need to be dependent on God, to trust Him, and to have that faith that helps us see through times even when we're not sure what's going to happen. A lot of uncertainty out there. Let's get into our lesson. I'm taking a break from Luke because I want to address the situation we're dealing with. So there's a little story tucked away in Second Kings that I've always loved. It's a small, short story, but I think the significance of it, at least it's had a tremendous impact on my life. And there's a message in there that I think we could all use some reminding of right now. So let's get into it. 2 Kings chapter 6, verse 8. Once when the king of Syria was warring against Israel, he took counsel with his servants, saying, "At such and such a place shall be my camp." But the man of God sent word to the king of Israel, "Beware that you do not pass this place, for the Syrians are going down there." And the king of Israel sent to the place about which the man of God told him. Thus he used to warn him, so that he saved himself there more and more than once or twice. And the mind of the king of Syria was greatly troubled because of this, and he called his servants and said to them, "Will you not show me who of us is for the king of Israel?" One of his servants said, "None, my lord, O king, but Elisha, the prophet who is in Israel, tells the king of Israel the words that you speak in your bedroom." And he said, "Go and see where he is, that I may send and seize him." It was told to him, "Behold, he is in Dothan." So he sent their horses and chariots and a great army, and they came by night and surrounded the city. When the servant of the man of God rose early in the morning, he went out, and behold, an army with horses and chariots was all around the city. And the servant said, "Alas, my master, what shall we do?" He said, "Do not be afraid, for those who are with us are more than those who are with them." Then Elisha prayed and said, "O Yahweh, please open his eyes that he may see." So Yahweh opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. And when the Syrians came down against him, Elisha prayed to Yahweh and said, "Please strike these people with blindness." So he struck them with blindness according to the prayer of Elisha. And Elisha said to them, "This is not the way, and this is not the city. Follow me, and I will bring you to the man whom you seek." And he led them to Samaria. As soon as they entered Samaria, Elisha said, "Yahweh, open the eyes of these men that they may see." So Yahweh opened their eyes, and they saw, and behold, they were in the midst of Samaria. As soon as the king of Israel saw them, he said to Elisha, "My father, shall I strike them down? Shall I strike them down?" He answered, "You shall not strike them down. Would you strike down those whom you have taken captive with your sword and with your bow? Set bread and water before them, that they may eat and drink and return to their master." So he prepared for them a great feast, and when they had eaten and drunk, he sent them away, and they went to their master. And the Syrians did not come again on raids into the land of Israel. Like I said, a short story, but one that's very significant and one that we need to get a perspective on. You see, the king of Syria was dealing with the real world. He's concerned. He keeps making plans, and the Israelites just always seem to know what his plans are. And of course, you would naturally think there's someone in your midst who's spying, someone who's revealing the truth. And his mind is disturbed, and he says, "Show me which one of us is the traitor, who's betraying us to the king of Israel." You can imagine his position. He had this great, powerful army. He ruled a lot of people. They were much, much bigger than the Israelites, more populous. He had a lot of power at his command. He was a well-known king in this time. He had a lot of influence in the area. And so he was struggling with this situation. By worldly standards, he should have easily dominated the Israelites with his military might. It shouldn't have been any problem at all, and yet he continuously was thwarted. But not because of other men's schemes, but because he was against a much greater power than he was used to dealing with. What's the divine reality? One of his servants knew. You can imagine it wasn't just the king that was worried about this. All of his generals were probably bothered, and they were all asking the same question. How is it the Israelites know our plans? And one of them had heard this rumor. And he told the king, "None, my lord, but Elisha the prophet who is in Israel tells the king of Israel the words that you speak in your bedroom." I imagine that got his attention. Make you a little nervous about even what you say in the privacy of your own bedroom would be heard by the king of Israel. You see, his power and his might were nothing. Absolutely powerless against the power of God. You see, when God is for someone, no one can stand against them. The Bible tells us that many, many times. See, the Syrian king, he wanted the Israelites to fear him. He wanted to be respected and to respect his people as a nation. The problem was Yahweh wanted him, the Syrian king, to fear him and respect his people. And when you have a clash like that, the outcome is already obvious. Still, he tries worldly solutions. He says, "Go and see where this man is. Go and see where he is, that I may seize him." And it was told, and he sent this huge army to surround Dothan. You can imagine, he moves this army at night. This little town, this little city is set up, and this is where Elisha is. And I imagine the servant of Elisha felt pretty good status to be the servant of the prophet of God. And this town is probably getting a little notoriety because Elisha is staying there. And the king sends this army by night, and so in the morning they're surrounded. It's amazing that even after being told Elisha is a prophet, that the king tries to do this. He's a prophet of God. Oh, well, let's go grab him. That makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? If you recognize that this man speaks for God himself. And so he's got this plan. I'm just going to go capture him, and that'll fix this problem. And you think, well, that's kind of foolish, but let's personalize this a little. How often have we seen the power of God personally? How often have we seen God act in our lives? God provide when there was no other way. Solutions appear out of nowhere, and you realize you've been praying for that very thing, and God has provided for us. God has protected us. Most of us have those experiences in our life, and yet there are other times when we know God is trying to push us in this direction or that, and we try to fight against him. This king's reaction is not that unusual when you consider human nature. that even after he knows he's against God, he's trying to thwart the situation. He's trying to mess up God's plans. And I can tell you, that's just never a good idea. We're doomed. I always think of that when the Bible has a nice way of putting it. When the servant of the man of God rose early in the morning and went out, behold, an army. Imagine this scene. The whole city is surrounded by chariots and horsemen and an army with spears, and they're clearly not Israelites. And they've got some pretty angry looks on their faces. And you can imagine as the servant gets up in the morning, he's grabbing his first cup of coffee, and he looks out, and wow, this is not how he was sort of planning the day. And suddenly the day gets rearranged. And he says, alas, my master, what shall we do? But what that really means is we're dead. We're doomed. There's no other way around. Look around. It's over with. Let's just take the situation in. His servant's looking through worldly eyes, and the worldly eyes are telling him there's just no way out of this problem. He sees this mighty army surround them, and he knows why they're there. The Syrians don't just show up for fun. Here's Elisha, who's been telling their secrets to the king of Israel, and suddenly the Syrian army is surrounding Dothan. He knows why they're there, and he knows that this is probably not a good day to be the servant of Elisha. He might be looking for other employment very soon. By all that's visible, they don't have a chance. They're doomed. It's over. And he thinks, I probably won't see the end of this day. But there's another factor that needs to be brought in. And this is one of my favorite verses in the Bible. Elisha says to him, do not be afraid. That's one of the most repeated commands in the Bible. Do not be afraid. And I think God has to repeat that so many times because we are a fearful people. And it's easy to let the fears of this world, the fears of impending disaster, the fears of a worldwide pandemic, to cloud our judgment, to blind our eyes, and help make us forget who we serve and why God has put us here. Do not be afraid, for those who are with us are more than those who are with them. And then Elisha prayed and said, Yahweh, please open his eyes that he may see. So Yahweh opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. It's an interesting contrast. He gets up, he walks out, and his first jolt of the morning is this Syrian army that surrounds Dothan. But then Elisha prays that God will open his eyes, and he sees an even greater army. A much vaster army that's horses and chariots of fire surrounding the Syrians and protecting Elisha. And then he knows the Syrians don't have a chance. But that's not what he was thinking just a couple of seconds ago. You see, he had to have his eyes opened so that he could see the reality, the divine reality. The servant couldn't see what Elisha knew was the divine reality. He needed to have his eyes opened. And we need to have our eyes opened. I think it's interesting to play on words here as you read through this text. When the Syrians came down against him, Elisha prayed that Yahweh would strike them with blindness. And then he gets them into Samaria. You can imagine him leading them along the road, and somehow they couldn't see very well, but they could see well enough to follow Elisha, and he just leads them right into the capital city of the Israelites. And they're just unaware. They're somehow foggy in their vision, blurry in their vision. We don't know exactly what happened, but Elisha leads this whole army right into the center of the capital, and now surrounded by the Israelites and their army. You see, throughout Scripture, seeing and being blind have a lot of theological and spiritual connotations. That those, none are so blind as those who will not see, is what, Jesus said in the New Testament. And there's many other passages where it talks about, people the blind leading the blind, and how foolish that would be. That whether we see or not see has a whole lot to do with our understanding of who God really is and what Jesus came to do for us. So we need to understand that when the Bible talks about closing your eyes, opening your eyes, and being blinded, it usually has some sort of a spiritual message there. The fact of the matter is, and the point of this whole story is, the fact that the servant couldn't see the army of God didn't mean it wasn't there. Didn't mean it isn't always there. That God is always present with his people. That's one of his greatest promises. The question is, do we see him? Do we recognize that divine reality? Or do we let the world blind us? So what's our call to action? What's the point of this story for us today? Well, in case you haven't noticed, we're in the middle of a worldwide pandemic, a crisis that we have never ever seen before, that none of us have seen before. This will be one of those stories that you'll tell your grandchildren, maybe even great-grandchildren. They'll read in the history books about the coronavirus, COVID-19, and how it just shut the whole world down for a few weeks, maybe months. We don't know. This is a crisis. It looks bad. And it's easy to look out and see all that's going on. If you look at that map of the world and all the coronavirus breakouts, the big red dots just keep getting bigger and bigger. It would be easy to look at all this and all that's going on and being forced to stay home and businesses shutting down. You could easily say, we're doomed. But we need to open our eyes. You see, just because we don't see physically God's protection around us doesn't mean it's not there. It doesn't mean it hasn't always been there. We've got this crisis going on, but we need to be a people who knows about God's presence. A lot of people are asking crazy questions right now. I'm getting phone calls. How long is this going to last? How bad is this going to be? Are we going to be protected? Are we going to stay healthy? Are my loved ones going to die from this thing? We've got a lot of questions, a lot of anxieties. And quite honestly, I've had some calls from minister friends of mine who are also filled with anxieties. What's this going to mean for the church? Will the church be here when we're done? Will people enjoy watching church from home and just not come back? I think we just don't know a lot of the answers to those questions. And I don't even think those are important questions. I know they bother us, they concern us, but to me there's only one real question. What's God trying to teach us through all this? What sort of effect is this having on our spirituality, on our faith? I mean, are you feeling a little closer to God? Are we feeling a little further away? Is the fear pushing God out? Or is the fear driving us closer to God? Is the anxiety going to overwhelm us? Do we feel like the forces of this world are somehow more powerful than the forces of God? Little stories like this need to remind us. Just because we can't see it doesn't mean God isn't there. And that we need, as a people of faith, to see God at work in our lives, in the lives of our children. As I mentioned in the beginning, when this has provided us with an opportunity to have times with our family that we claim we want more of, and now we've got it. Are we going to take advantage of that to be a little more spiritual, a little more divinely oriented, a little more aware of the divine reality? Are we going to remind our children that God is always with us, that God will walk us through this problem? This is a great opportunity to have those kinds of conversations, even if it's over a video chat or some FaceTime on your phone. It's a great time to remind each other that we serve a great and wonderful God, and He's in charge. I know for me and Allison, we've both been on the phone with our parents a lot more lately, just seeing what's going on, talking about what's happening, and being reassured that they're safe and that they're healthy. You see, God is always present with His people. Okay, we need to know that, right? You might think, well, yeah, that's the right answer. No. We need to feel that. We need to see that. Do you see it? Do you see God right now? Because if you don't, Father, open our eyes. Let us see your loving arms around us. Let us see your protection. Let us see the soldiers, the chariots of fire that protect your people. For those of you who may be filled with anxiety right now, I just pray that prayer. God, open our eyes so we can see what we need to see, and then we can act on that reality, the divine reality that trumps anything in this world. Let us see what you see. Because, Father, as Elisha told his servant, I want to tell each and every one of you out there, do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. Those who are with us are much greater than those who are with them. Whoever them may be, whatever enemy you see out there, whether it's foreign nations, foreign powers, or just foreign germs, those who are with us are much greater than those who are with them. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May His face shine upon you. And may He give you peace. God bless.